Hi guys, so today I'm going to go ahead and show you the first assignment that I did in my watercolor class. And at this point I've actually already been going to it for about 2 weeks, so I can say without a doubt that I absolutely love this class. It's really fun, but I can go ahead and talk to you about this assignment. So at this beginning part, I'm showing you a little bit of how I decided to refine the image that I was going to use. So this first sketch that I started out with at the very beginning was one that I did in my sketchbook, and it was a really tiny little thumbnail that was really very loose, but it had the emotion and the look that I wanted. So I scanned that in and I went ahead and blew it up to the correct size, and then here I'm just starting to work things out and get things a little bit more cleaned up. And I kind of prefer to work this way just because, for one thing, I am much more of a digital artist, so that's what I'm comfortable with, but it's also a lot faster by way of it's working on things that I don't really necessarily care about spending as much time on, like the final product. I just want to get everything correct and drawn out right, and then I can transfer it over and then I can enjoy that process where it's actually creating the image. So I went ahead and show you just how I like to go about refining even my traditional pieces usually for this kind of a process. So I can go ahead and tell you what the actual assignment was for this and what all the parameters were for it so that you can know why I made the specific design choices. But for this one, since it was the very beginning, the point was to learn how to do flat washes. So the actual assignment was that we had to have an image that we had all fragmented, like faceted, kind of like a gemstone. So it had lots of different areas that we can do single flat washes on instead of, one flat one or any sort of blending. It was just about doing one single color in that space. So for this one, I decided that I wanted to do this kind of a skull motif throughout it. So he has the skull on his face, and in the background, I drew all of these skulls over and over again, and then I fragmented those. That way I'd have a lot of different sections of it. So I think the one biggest thing that I'm really going to have to get used to as far as doing watercolor and working this way is that I can't change the color palette halfway through. And I mean, I know that I've done traditional work, but it's something that I've really gotten very accustomed to be able to change as far as digitally. I mean, you've probably seen a lot of my pieces where they all change a ton. The whole look of it changes all the time. But for this one, I have to have a very specific and clear plan of how I'm going to color it and what the colors are going to be and where they're going to be at. And I just have to have everything completely figured out. And I think that that's something that, as I have to do it in this class, it'll really benefit me as I go forward, even in my digital work. I feel like that's something that kind of weakens my process a little bit, where I don't always have a firm grasp of what I'm going to actually create. And when it comes to doing professional work, that's oftentimes really important. You need to know what it's going to look like, and you need to know how it's going to turn out that way. So I do think that this will really help me, even in things that are not, as permanent as watercolor. So I'm excited for that aspect of it. And one thing that I've heard before, but I've never really painted enough for it to actually be something that I used a lot of, but this kind of idea where you mix this one particular color into all of the colors that you use in a painting, and that way it really harmonizes it and it has that element throughout the whole piece so that everything just comes together and it has that little bit of a hue in it. So that's something that I did do in this piece, and I did choose from a very limited color palette. So it's pretty analogous, where I just chose these kind of violety blue colors, blues and turquoises. So it's pretty limited to begin with, but I did make sure that I mixed in a little bit of Payne's gray into all of them, and I really liked that effect because there were some areas that I only used Payne's gray, which was actually in this man, his figure, I only used Payne's gray throughout all of him. So I feel like that really helped unify him and the background, where I had already mixed Payne's gray into all of the background stuff. I think that if I hadn't mixed that in, it would feel a little bit more separated and it wouldn't have that same unifying factor where they do feel like they belong in one painting instead of like they're two parts stuck together. So I think that that helped. And another part that was actually officially a part of the assignment that I kind of failed at was that we were supposed to leave a third of the shape, so about a third of the whole piece total completely white so that you only saw the paper. And I kind of didn't really do that. In the end, I really only left his skin white in certain areas on his clothes, I think. Actually, no, I think it was really only his skin that ends up having any sort of white in it. And I think that's another just good example of why I need to plan everything out completely and do color studies before I do any of this, because as I was working on it, I realized that there were different elements that I could have left white to satisfy that requirement, but I didn't think about it until I had already painted through it. So I thought of different places within like the background that I could have had it, but it wasn't until I was like a third of the way done on one side of it that I thought about it, so I couldn't actually implement it anymore. So that really was a key thing that taught me that I really do need to make sure that I'm planning these pieces completely out so that I can not only fulfill the requirements for the assignments, but also to be able to think through those different things that I want in my piece and different elements. Because there's always something as I'm working that I think about and I realize that I think would be amazing in the piece and I'm so excited for it. And usually it's digital and I can actually put that in there, but when it's watercolor, I need to know that at the beginning, all those different things that are going to make it that fun piece for me. So yeah, just to reiterate, I definitely need to work on planning the whole piece out and knowing exactly where it's going. And that is pretty much it for this one. I did really love working on it. I love watercolor, so I'm really excited about all the pieces that I'm going to do in this class and just getting to know this medium a lot more. So yeah, I'm gonna have fun with this. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you can catch up my future art videos, and I will see you at my next one. Bye!